800 years ago, before most of us could even dream of imagining, there were two powerful kingdoms, Umbraeth and Luminar. They once shared a bond, a balance, light and dark, day and night, like two sides of the same coin. But that peace, it didn't last. One day, without warning, the kingdom of Umbraeth was swallowed by darkness. Not just a shadow or a long eclipse, no. A deep, magical darkness cursed the land. It chilled the bones and twisted even the warmest hopes. Their skies never saw the sun again. Only the pale, cold glow of the moon remained, and from it, Umbraeth's magic began to change, darken. Meanwhile, Luminar flourished. Bathed in golden sunlight and silver moonlight, their kingdom grew strong and radiant. Their magic, powered by the sun, brought prosperity and joy. But instead of helping their old allies in Umbraeth, the people of Luminar pulled away. Suspicion grew. Then fear. Over time, that fear turned into resentment. Walls, both visible and invisible, were raised. Borders were drawn. And an agreement was made: no one from Umbraeth shall cross into Luminar, and no one from Luminar shall step into Umbraeth. Ever. Generations passed. Kings came and went. And in the shadowed halls of Umbraeth's castles, rulers searched endlessly for a way to break the curse, to bring light back to their people. But no spell, no sacrifice, no ancient relic could undo what had been done. And so, the darkness remained, waiting. 800 years had passed since the kingdom split. The sun still shone brightly over Luminar, casting golden light across its marble towers and glowing gardens. And on one of those sun-kissed mornings, King Aurelius, the current ruler of Luminar, was carrying his young son, Prince Arya, across a balcony overlooking the kingdom, the very land Arya was destined to inherit. But Arya wasn't the least bit interested in the grandeur. While his father spoke with pride, pointing out the shimmering lakes, the glowing spires, and the sun temples, Arya just squirmed in his arms, itching to jump down and chase a butterfly or slide down the railing. He was a playful child, wild, carefree, and far more interested in fun than in royal duty. King Aurelius sighed, clearly frustrated. "You cannot keep ignoring your training, Arya," he told him sternly. "Your powers won't grow if you treat them like a game." Arya just shrugged, his eyes already scanning the horizon for the next distraction. Later that day, the king made a formal visit to the estate of Duke Helgria, an old friend, and one of the most powerful noblemen in Luminar. Their visit was meant to be political, of course. Kings and dukes always had politics to discuss. So, as King Aurelius disappeared into the tall, ivy-covered halls with Lord Helgria, Arya was left to wander the lavish grounds. That's when he saw her. Through the stained-glass windows of a quiet chamber, Arya spotted a girl, just a bit older than him, in a room filled with vines, flowers, and light. She was practicing magic. Real, beautiful magic. With a flick of her wrist, she made trees sprout from polished stone, leaves unfurl like tiny green flags, and flowers bloom in mid-air like they'd been waiting just for her. Her name was Soniera. And even though Arya didn't know it yet, this girl would become his greatest rival. He crept closer, peeking around the doorframe, utterly mesmerized by what she could do. But she noticed him. Soniera turned sharply. "Are you spying on me?" Caught red-handed, Arya stumbled forward, cheeks red. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to, you're really good at magic." She raised an eyebrow. "Wait. You're the prince, aren't you?" Arya nodded slowly. That's when her expression shifted from surprise to smugness. "Oh," she said with a sly smile. "I've heard about you. They say your powers are weak." She didn't even try to hide the grin. "That's kind of embarrassing for a royal, isn't it?" Arya's mouth opened, then closed. "I'm not weak," he muttered. Soniera crossed her arms and tilted her head. "When I grow up, I'm going to become the first oracle in the history of Luminar who wasn't born royal. And when I do, I'll be the one keeping this kingdom's magic alive, not some lazy prince who doesn't take training seriously. Now, for context, in Luminar, the Oracle was the highest magical honor. A sacred role given to the most powerful magic wielder, someone who channeled the sun's energy to sustain the entire kingdom's power. That title had always gone to a royal. But Soniera wasn't interested in tradition. She wanted to make history. Trying to defend himself, Arya stepped forward and summoned all the magic he could. He strained, focused, lifted his hands, and produced nothing but a sad little flicker. A tiny, flickering spark. Soniera snorted. That's it? You're supposed to be the future king. She waved her hands, and a flurry of golden leaves swirled around her. A branch grew from the stone floor and bloomed before his eyes. She smiled proudly. I'll always be better than you, Prince. Arya clenched his fists. His face burned with humiliation. For a moment, it looked like he might snap, say something sharp, lash out with whatever little magic he had. But just then, King Aurelius stepped out of the meeting hall, calling to his son. Come, Arya. We're leaving. Arya followed, but not before glancing back. Soniera stood there, giving his father a deep, respectful curtsy. But the moment the king turned away, she looked at Arya and flashed a wicked, knowing grin. And in that moment, Arya understood something clearly. Soniera wasn't just a show-off with strong magic. No. She was going to be a thorn in his side for a very long time. The ride home was quiet, at first. The golden carriage rolled smoothly along the sunlit roads, the horses' hooves clopping in rhythm. Inside, King Aurelius sat across from his son, arms folded, watching him closely. Arya wasn't bouncing in his seat like usual. He wasn't poking at the curtains or asking endless questions about everything he saw out the window. He was quiet. Too quiet. King Aurelius leaned forward, his voice gentle. What's the matter, my son? You've worn a frown since we left Lord Halgria's estate. Arya hesitated. Then, with a huff, he crossed his arms and muttered, It's that girl. Soniera. The king raised an eyebrow. Ah, what did she do? She said my magic is weak, Arya grumbled. She laughed at me. Said she's going to be the first oracle and that I don't deserve to be one. And maybe she's right. Aurelius's expression softened. He reached across and rested a hand on his son's shoulder. Soniera is gifted, there's no denying that, he said. But so are you, Arya. You come from a long line of powerful sorcerers, kings and queens who didn't just wield magic, they changed the world with it. You carry that same spark. It just hasn't fully awakened yet. Arya didn't look convinced. He turned back to the window, sulking, until something caught his eye. In the distance, far past the glowing fields and sunlit hills, was a shimmering wall of light. A bluish dome, faint but pulsing gently like a heartbeat. What's that? Arya asked, pointing. King Aurelius followed his gaze, then sat up straighter. That, he said, is the boundary. It separates our kingdom from Umbraeth. Arya blinked. Umbraeth? The kingdom of darkness? Aurelius nodded. Yes. That shield's been there for generations. No one crosses it. Not them, not us. Why not? Because they're nothing like us, the king said, his voice growing colder. They use dark magic, magic born from the moon's curse. Their skies are black, their lands cold, and they've been trapped in shadow for centuries. We've been enemies ever since the curse fell upon them. Arya frowned. But, why were they cursed in the first place? King Aurelius hesitated. There are rumors, he said slowly, that someone from Luminar may have had something to do with it. But no one knows for sure. It was so long ago, even the truth is lost in stories now. Arya fell silent, staring at the glowing shield in the distance. That sounds awful, he whispered. Living without the sun. Without light. That must be so lonely. Then, suddenly, he sat up. Can we stop? Just for a second. I want to see it up close. The king blinked in surprise. You want to stop, at the boundary? Arya nodded. Please. Aurelius hesitated, then, with a sigh, gave the order. The carriage slowed, creaking to a halt at the edge of a hill, just close enough to see the soft flicker of the magical barrier up close. Arya stepped down and walked slowly toward the wall of light. He turned to his father. Is it really true? That I come from a great line of sorcerers? Aurelius nodded once. It is. The young prince looked back at the glowing wall, blue and humming like distant wind. Then, quietly, he placed his small hand on it. If I could do anything with my magic, he said, I'd bring light back to the people of Umbreth. I'd show them the sun. I don't think anyone deserves to live in the dark, not forever. And the moment those words left his lips, the shield began to change. The blue light shimmered, then slowly turned gold. Not just a flicker, but a full, warm glow, like sunrise bleeding through fog. Aurelius's eyes widened. Arya, he called out sharply, rushing forward. He pulled his son's hand back from the barrier, his voice suddenly filled with worry. Be careful. We don't know what that means. The glow began to fade, the shield returning to its soft, bluish pulse, like nothing had happened. The king ushered his son back to the carriage, eyes still darting toward the barrier in thought. But Arya? He looked back one last time. That golden light still echoed in his mind. And in that moment, he realized something. Soniera might be strong. But something inside him had just awakened. And whatever it was powerful. Meanwhile, far beyond the golden lands of Luminar, across the shimmering barrier, in the kingdom cloaked in eternal night, Umbreth, the air was heavy. The skies, as always, were blanketed in thick, endless darkness. There were no birds. No warmth. Just silence, and sorrow. Inside the royal palace, Prince Kinar knelt beside a grand bed draped in deep velvet. His hand was wrapped tightly around the fragile fingers of his mother, the queen, whose breath was shallow, and eyes dim. Her life was slipping away. Tears welled in Kinar's eyes, but he tried to stay strong. He had to. He leaned closer, whispering, I'm here, mother. I'm not going anywhere. She gave him a weak smile. My brave boy. But then, something strange happened. A light, soft, golden, and warm, suddenly spilled through the cracks in the stone ceiling. Kinar froze. His mother's eyes widened. The guard stepped back, confused. Servants rushed to the windows. And then, for the first time in living memory, the sun rose over Umbraeth. It wasn't just a flicker. It was real. A warm, golden sunrise stretched across the darkened land. The shadows on the mountains pulled back. The black clouds broke. The dead trees glowed with a hint of life. Everyone in the kingdom stopped what they were doing. Eyes turned to the sky. Mouths hung open in disbelief. Kinar blinked, the light reflecting in his eyes. Is this real? He whispered. The queen, barely able to speak, smiled faintly and turned to him. I told you, the sun would still rise. One day. And then, just as quickly as it came, the light faded. The sky dimmed once more. The sun vanished. And Umbraeth returned to its eternal gloom. Kinar looked back to his mother. Her smile remained, but her chest no longer rose. Then, as if carried away by the wind, her body crumbled into fine black sand, and vanished. No. Kinar cried out, falling to his knees. No, no, no. He buried his face in his hands, but before his grief could consume him, a voice spoke behind him. It was his loyal servant, an older man named Thuren, who placed a steady hand on the prince's shoulder. "Your Majesty, you must not cry." Kinar looked up, heartbroken. "She's gone." "I know," Thuren said gently. "But you are king now. And Umbraeth cannot afford a king who shows weakness. If your enemies sense grief, they'll see opportunity. And they will strike." Kinar swallowed hard. He stood slowly, wiping his face. His eyes, still glassy with tears, burned now with something stronger, purpose. He walked to the broken window and looked toward the horizon where the sun had briefly touched his cursed land. "I will bring it back," he said, his voice firm. "No matter what it takes. I will bring the sun back to Umbreth." Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe to the channel for more episodes.
花一堆弄堂往晚女里相惜离合悲欢，履带轻轻